Hello, and guess what I'm doing today? A Sarkeesian response video. Because I'm bored, I guess. You know what, if it gets me a bunch of views, I guess that's a good thing. I don't know, call me a view whore if you really want to, whatever. Anita's still wrong, and she's still making videos, and people are still believing this, I think. So, let's bring the bitch down, I guess. So let's begin, shall we? Whoa, hold up. What video game is this? Is this a parody? Is this serious? Is this a costume? Like, this is not the story outfit and just a DLC costume. What's the context? I'm not familiar with this game. You just kind of, whatever. Fuck it. Wow, look at all those sexy women. Gotta jerk off. Male urges. Oh. No. Okay, whatever. Just a whole bunch of pan shots of pretty women, I guess. Stay tuned for bullshit facts.
Movement can be a powerful thing. Most of us who play games can appreciate the importance of a well-timed jump in a platformer or a skillful dodge in a fighting game.
But you can't because you're not a fan of video games, right? Well, you said so yourself.
But sometimes it's the seemingly ordinary movements that actually tell us the most about a character. The way they do simple things like walk or sit down.
I would argue that most of the story for characters come from dialogue and cutscenes. Not body language, but whatever. Keep going.
And like anything else about a character, movement can be used in ways that resist tired gender stereotypes or in ways that reinforce them.
And those stereotypes would be... Would they be based on biology? No, they're constructs of the patriarchy, right? I forgot. We're talking about feminism here.
In Bungie's hugely successful online shooter Destiny,
which sucks,
players start by creating their own character, a guardian who will fight to protect the last remnants of humanity.
Really? That's what the Guardians do? I didn't actually know that. Kidding, never played it, didn't buy it. Who gives a fuck? Simply watched it and thought it was stupid. That's my Destiny experience. How about yours?
As with character creation tools in other games, this one lets you choose from different genders and races.
So that's praise of the game, right? It's a pretty standard thing nowadays.
In most ways, Destiny treats its playable female characters almost identically to how it treats its male characters. For instance, the armor you acquire when playing as a female character isn't sexualized, but looks just as practical and stylish as the gear equipped by male characters.
Yay, feminism! Yay! Bungie isn't misogynist! Yay! Who cares?
However,
there's a but? Of course there's a but. It's Anita Sarkeesian. She hates butts, but yet presents them all the time. Yeah, butt joke. Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's continue.
There's one way in which the male and female characters are differentiated by gender, and it has to do with their movement. Watch how a male guardian sits down, taking a load off after a long, hard day fighting the forces of pure evil. It's simple. It suggests confidence. When a female character sits down, however, it's a completely different story. She sits like a delicate flower. This is supposed to be a hardened space warrior, and yet she's sitting around like she's Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
What the fuck? I didn't notice it at all. Confidence? That pose suggests confidence? I just saw a dude sitting like a normal dude. Delicate flower? What? That pose is a delicate flower pose? I don't understand. Look at this simple Google search image. Look at all the... Oh my god. These are almost identical to the pose, if not similar in nature. That she's not mansplaining. There's 1 or 2 examples of that out of 20. Just at the top results of a Google image search. Fuck off, Anita.
A character's animation and movement is just as much a part of who they are as their appearance and their clothing. And like any other aspect of a character, game designers use movement to communicate information about them to the player.
What about the game designers communicating the character's attributes to the player through talking and dialogue? That would make the most sense, right? Right? Yeah, okay.
This isn't inherently a bad thing. Expressive character animations are just a way for the game to contribute to our understanding of who a character is and what defines them. How a character walks, jumps, even how they sit down can tell us a lot about them.
Or, immersion and showcase gameplay mechanics. I think the only one that doesn't do this is like roguelike games.
For instance, Ryu Hayabusa's precise and graceful movement conveys that he is a highly trained ninja. While the way Nathan Drake scrambles and fumbles in dangerous situations is meant to suggest that he's more of a relatable, ordinary guy who just keeps finding himself in extraordinary circumstances.
we were almost in that.
Attack on Bayonetta. I do sense. Upcoming it is.
By contrast, the way that women move in games isn't just used to suggest their confidence or their skill or some other facet of their personality. It's very often used in conjunction with other aspects of their design to make them exude sexuality for the entertainment of the presumed straight male player.
Hey everyone, I bought this new video game so I could jerk off to it. See how stupid it sounds?
What the hell?
Catwoman from the Arkham series has a deeply exaggerated hip sway when she walks. In combination with her clothing and the game's camera angles, all of this is meant to drive the player's focus to her highly sexualized butt.
Yes, Catwoman is sexy. Because she's a Black Widow character. Oh my god. Fuck. Video games did not invent Catwoman. Nor did they invent the Black Widow character. Actually, if you want to really come down to it, it's probably Gold Diggers that invented the Black Widow character back in like 1 AD or some bullshit. I know you just want to mom shit up and hate Catwoman's ass, but would somebody for God's sake think about the lesbians?
In Resident Evil Revelations, Jill Valentine somehow manages to wiggle her whole body while she runs.
I did not see it at all. A mild butt sway because your thighs and legs are attached to the butt, and that's how you walk, so they're moving, and therefore the butt moves a little bit. For fuck's sakes, why do I have to explain walking?
In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Evie Frye is a character who avoids falling into many of the sexualizing traps that some playable female characters do, but she still walks with an exaggerated hip sway.
Complain to Ubisoft that there's not enough female characters in Assassin's Creed. Complain about that female character. Feminist logic. Maybe she just has an itch from all these 19th century clothes. Ever thought about that? This is also set in a historical reality where women didn't have rights, so you're lucky she's not in the kitchen baking cookies for Christ's sake.
In Saints Row the Third, you can change your character's gender at any time. If you go to the clinic and swap your gender from male to female, you also come away with a newly sexualized walking animation, even though you're literally supposed to be the same character.
Saints Row is probably the worst fucking example you could probably use. They don't give a fuck what you do with your sexualization of your character. Oh my god. Fuck. You can make your boobs giant balloons if you really want to. You can make your package the biggest fucking thing ever and wear a Speedo for all they care. It's a ridiculous version of GTA. That's what it is. They pride themselves on that. That's what they're trying to make. It's rated R for a reason. Meaning it's not for little kids, and it's not for people who get offended like little kids. Okay? Oh, that's no excuse because it's Saints Row. Well, actually it is, and it's rated accordingly, meaning that people who get offended shouldn't buy the game, and people who are too young aren't allowed to buy the game. So therefore, arguing that it reinforces bad stereotypes to young minds is bullshit. Okay? Like, for Christ's sake, we're 20 years old, 20, 30 years old. Fuck off, Mom. I can play whatever I want.
Male heroes are allowed to simply walk like normal human beings in ways that are average or strong or graceful or goofy.
Maybe because they don't have curves. Ever thought about that one? In fact, some males do actually try to walk exaggerated and whatnot. The whole gangsta look. Look at me, I'm cool. Strutting my strut.
Meanwhile, motion-captured animations for female characters often make them look as if they're walking down a runway at a
Japanese video game.
fashion show in stiletto heels.
Another Japanese video game. Japanese.
Even when the characters are actually in combat situations.
And Japanese. You cannot call out sexualized Japanese video games because they have a really different culture than us. Okay? You just can't. There's no feminists there. There's no fucking third wave bullshit. People are into tentacle porn and shit like that. Just don't bother. Just don't bother reasoning with the Japanese what is sexual and what is not, okay? They have their own version of what it is. Stop lecturing them on their culture, honestly.
Watching these characters' in-game movement animations, you'd think that the director of the motion capture session directed them to walk like a model instead of a hardened space warrior, or master thief, or bioterrorism agent, or crime boss, or vampire, or assassin.
Your hardened space warrior sits like a delicate flower, according to you, not walking like a model. You said it, that was perfectly fine, actually. Who's the master thief? Don't recognize him. And you didn't include it in your examples either. But swaying the bioterrorism agent is perfectly normal, okay? Crime boss that doesn't have rights, technically. You didn't talk about the vampire, and vampires are kind of sexy anyways. They always have been. I mean, if we want to be honest here, it goes both ways ever since Twilight, so. Being sexy as an assassin, again, not referenced, would actually be helpful because you can get closer to your targets in an intimate moment and then murder them. It actually has a benefit. Essentially, the Black Widow benefits in a nutshell.
Of course, in the real world, people do walk with a sway of the hips when wearing high heels. If we want to get really technical about it, this slight hip sway occurs in order to maintain balance. This in and of itself is not a problem, other than generally being deeply uncomfortable.
So you're saying women do walk with exaggerated hip sways to maintain balance in high heels? I mean, if you don't want to have a hip sway, why don't you just not wear high heels? I never really understood them. I mean, if they're uncomfortable, why the fuck do you wear them? Oh, because they're professional and stylish. Well, choose one. I don't wear skinny jeans because it kind of cramps my ball area, so yeah, I chose comfort over style, so why can't you?
But it raises an important question. Why are these female characters in combat roles wearing high heels?
As a white cis male gamer, I don't find heels sexy. I honestly don't. But all the examples you have of women in high heels in combat is all Japanese examples, so yes, it's a cultural thing.
With all the fighting, running, and climbing these women have to do, dressing them in heels is clearly a decision rooted in sexualized aesthetic pleasure.
You mean Japanese gays?
Rather than believability. In fact, animating so many female characters in games to fit into this very gendered, sexualizing walk pattern is an example of one of the ways the male gaze manifests in video games.
Feminist pseudo-intellectualism coming right up.
The term male gaze was coined in 1975 by feminist film critic Laura Mulvey and refers to the tendency for the visual arts to assume and be structured around a presumed masculine viewer, or in this case, player. The male gaze manifests when the camera takes on a perspective of a stereotypical heterosexual man. An indisputable example of this is when the camera lingers, caresses, or pans across a woman's body.
Why don't you sue him for gazing at you because it's a microaggression? Be warned, if you like women and you have a penis, don't look at women. Doesn't matter what they wear or how hot they look. You can't do it. Nope, that's a microaggression. It's bad. Looking is micro-rape. What about lesbian gaze? Nobody ever talks about that.
Although it's not always that obvious.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in most cases. What about women looking at men's bodies? Like, I don't care if they want to look at a hot dude's body or like, oh my god, look how muscular he is. Like, that's all I ever heard in high school is girls saying, openly that, my god, that guy's so hot. And kind of like being girls and doing their thing. And guys just were kind of quiet amongst themselves like, my god, did you see how hot the teacher was today? Yeah, I totally saw it. Shh, hush, 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 we might get in trouble. Men like women. And women like men, just admit it. Just admit that they like each other's bodies because sexual attraction, okay? Do I need to explain that any further? Hopefully not. It's pretty obvious.
In games, it can be as simple as the in-game camera resting so that a character's butt or breasts are...
Rise of the Tomb Raider is another Japanese game. And also, the camera angle is at such a weird angle because you're rock climbing, you're going up, you're going vertical, and naturally a person's butt is facing downward. So therefore, when you're rock climbing in that tight space, her butt is kind of scrunched up and shit because her legs, and do I have to explain this any further? No, I don't. It's just a cool camera angle for rock climbing, okay?
Both are center line. It can be a cutscene that
already talked about Bayonetta and Metal Gear Solid.
Rests on a woman's butt. It can be clothing that...
Mass Effect is an RPG, and you can have sex with other characters. It's not for kids, again. It also famously included a gay sex option for the Shepherd, so if you wanted to do that, you could. If you didn't have to. And that's why most people didn't care, but anti-GG, of course, went after them and saying they're misogynist and hated this option. Nobody hated it, okay? Adult game with adult options, adult content, and basically pro-sexuality.
That they are wearing, or the way they talk.
And what is the context of why this woman is wearing a jumpsuit? Is it because she crash-landed on a planet and is a pilot? I don't know, I haven't played the game, and you're not explaining it very well.
Or it can be as basic as the way a female character moves around the game world.
Really, GTA Vice, which is based in the 80s, when sex positive really started to come around. Not to mention, again, rated R, not for kids, and is actually a hyper-parody of American culture. So therefore, you could argue that they're making fun of the babe in the bikini.
The male gaze reinforces the notion that man looks and the woman is looked at.
Here we go again, more pseudo-intellectual feminism.
Or as art critic John Berger explains in the 1972 book Ways of Seeing, men act and women appear. Men look at women. Women watch themselves being looked at. This determines not only most relations between men and women, but also the relation of women to themselves. To be clear, the male gaze is not a hard and fast rule. It's a theoretical concept that is meant to help us understand the sometimes subtle and nuanced ways in which our culture influences media, and the way that media in turn can shape and reinforce existing gender dynamics in our culture. The male gaze is also not in any way limited to men or heterosexual people. Almost all of us internalize and sometimes identify with the male gaze to some extent. Eradicating the male gaze is not as simple as introducing an inverse female gaze that sexualizes men either. Not just because equal opportunity sexual objectification isn't the answer, but also because it isn't actually equal.
So wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. So when women looks, it's not as bad when men looks, because men has a penis, and he's wrong for that. Yep, double standard right here.
One reinforces pre-existing oppressive ideas about women that are real and damaging to women in their everyday lives. The other doesn't reinforce anything.
Doesn't reinforce anything, huh? Okay, well, if I'm gonna play your feminism game, I would argue that the male gaze would reinforce that I should be a hunk, 240 pounds with awesome abs and a six-pack and kick anybody's ass. Well, I don't have that, and therefore I should be upset about it, but I'm not because I don't care. I mean, I'm just happy the way I am. Like, I just, whatever, shrug it off. I'm not fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, big deal. Just move on, get over it, who cares, you know? Technically, I should hit the gym and work out more for my health, but I don't. I play video games instead. So, yeah. I have a semi-large penis, so that helps too. Fucking love that line. From Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Nor are the two interchangeable. For example, when the satirical website The Hawkeye Initiative reimagines male characters in sexualized poses that are common for female characters, it isn't using the female gaze. This is just the male gaze applied to men.
Exactly. That's why it's stupid, because they look like women when they're not women. If it was the female gaze, they would look like hunks.
When male characters are depicted as shirtless or wearing little clothing, like the character sometimes dubbed Hot Ryu from Street Fighter V, their lack of clothing demonstrates their power and strength, rather than depicting them as erotic playthings or reducing them to sexualized body parts.
Because a strong man who can take care of a woman, to some women, obviously not you, Anita, you prefer John McIntosh who succumbs to your will anytime you say so and, bends his head down in shame, is sexy to them. Just let that sink in, okay? Girls like muscular, abbed, ripped male bodies. They like that. They think it's sexy.
The same is true when it comes to movement. Male characters get to move in ways that emphasize all sorts of characteristics and personality traits, but there's a whole world of untapped potential for representations of female characters who aren't animated in ways that frame them as sex objects.
Sex object? No, you're wrong, Anita. It's a programming object. Yeah. Got it. Do you get it? Yeah, okay. My fucking lame jokes.
But who get to be just as stealthy or strong, swift or imposing, clumsy or graceful.
I have a question. How many ugly men are portrayed in video games? None. They're all fairly attractive. How many unattractive women are portrayed in video games? None. Again, they're all fairly attractive. One has boobs and curves and looks better in, wetsuits and jumpsuits, and the other is always going shirtless or just has really badass abs or muscular strength. Ultimately, when you put guys in wetsuits, women don't think it's hot. Okay? They think shirtless dudes and that example, Calvin Klein underwear, okay? That was a sexy male. It appealed to the female gaze when he had some sort of oil over his thing and the sun was shining off his abs and whatnot. I don't know, some Olympian dude. Yeah, people love that image, so they stole it. It has nothing to... Oh my god. Why am I explaining this? Men and women like each other. They like inserting things into each other. They can get horny off their looks and gain pleasure by getting screwed by the other sex.
The way Ellie moves in The Last of Us communicates a sense of tension and danger, demonstrating what it's like when female characters are animated in ways that emphasize their personality and emotional state, rather than serving to sexually objectify them.
I would seriously question Naughty Dog's ethics if they tried to sexualize a 13-year-old girl. It's something we call pedophilia. Yeah, it has nothing to do with sexualized objects. It's just pedophilia, okay?
The path to equality and liberation does not lie in equally reducing men and women to objectified parts, but by treating people of all genders and with all types of bodies as full and complete human beings.
Too bad there's money involved, a whole $4 billion a year, and everyone knows sex sells. Now go get mad at the pornos. Something. Go mom something else up, for fuck's sakes. I guess it's history that you're onto now, right? Good luck pushing those stubborn old bastards over. Beam, 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 ding, 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 ding. This is where 140K went. Do, 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 do. I hate this song 'cause it's annoying as fuck and your logo is dumb.